Hey everyone, it's Time Spiraled. Welcome back to some more MSEM Cube League. This time around, we are just a little over 24 hours before the first real Cube night, which is going to happen tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern over on the MSEM Discord. And I figured we'd do another draft run here with a lot of our regulars just to kind of get a feel for the Cube. We've been firing one of these off every day. Making sure we've got no bots, no timer, the custom cube thing is all done, and everyone has hit ready. So here we go. So while players do their first picks, today we're going to be focusing on Cyber Chronometer, who has volunteered to be our featured drafter for today. But like previous videos, I think what I'll do is still occasionally bounce around, especially as we see players making their first early picks, discuss kind of how the packs are going. What's nice about this as the spectator is it kind of gives me the opportunity to think about what cards will come back to our featured drafter of the day. So as the featured drafter, if this was the real thing, we would also be watching Cyber Chronometer's first match, and then afterwards we would move on to the top table. So whether or not Cyber would be there, that just gives us a chance to follow a drafter, but also give you the highlights of how the best players are doing. I think that's the best thing that we can be doing so far. So we've already seen that some players have started picking, so let's just go and pop in. Looks like Popcornia started with a Century Genius, a pretty interesting blue-red pick. It's a 1/1 for 3 with triple prowess, and it gives your non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast. Looks like Angener here has started with the Chronicles of the Kitsune, pretty strong card. Nyx has picked up an Ayakin's Portal, really nice legendary enchantment that flips into a kind of a game-ending card here. I'll actually bring it up a little bigger. I always forget I can just right-click and give everybody a bigger view here. Looks like Splash Cat started with a Asalia, Steward of Kaer Kran, and following it up with a Mutual Destruction, which is quite nice. Softwood is opening up with red, so Feeding Time here. Very, very nice enchantment. It's very cheap for what it does. Lyco, no surprise, loves green. So here's Xira, Scatter of Seeds, also a fantastic first pick, which brings us back to our featured drafter where we'll be sticking here for a little bit here. So looks like we started off with a Chigao the Red Market. It's a legendary enchantment that draws a card when it enters, and you can pick a creature card name. And once each turn, you can simply cast a creature spell with that name from your graveyard. Now, we might not have multiples, but just naming your best creature and getting it back constantly is really nice. Followed it up with a pick for Lotus. It's just a wonderful mana rock here. It enters tapped. You get 3 data points into your hand. Essentially, they're clues. And then it taps for 3 mana of any color. So Lotus is kind of crazy. It's a really, really cool piece. And what I like to partner with Chigao here is and I'm going to horribly mispronounce this thing, Xue Young Sun. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm actually not sure how to get those all those letters together at the beginning. This is kind of like a Jite, right? So a quick creature gets +1/-1 and has when it dies put a fate counter. Then you can pay 1 to remove fate counters to either draw a card or deal 2 damage, gain 2 life. So quite decent. Partners well, like I said, with Chigao. Looks like we followed up with a Ku Primal Shepherd. It's a legendary dryad that whenever you cast a creature spell, you get an idol, which is just an artifact that you can pay 1 and sack to put counters on your creatures as a sorcery. But also, whenever you sacrifice an idol, you draw a card. Looks like we're starting with a really nice black-green value thing. Nerix the Soul Cage is a good follow-up. This is a 1/1, kind of like a legendary reassembling skeleton that can bring itself back. But then late game, when you have the mana to spend, it can also bring back other creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So nice little package that we're seeing here. I want to see if we had, I believe we had another player who was also open. Oh, that's some blue going on here. Pie Guy. Okay, so Splash Cat kind of has a little bit of what a little bit of Mutual Destruction would have been nice, Inexorable Epidemic. So Splash Cat is on the other half-ish of the pack, so it's okay. They're not absolutely next to each other, so I'm sure we'll still see some cards coming around. Here in the first packs, it would be really cool if Jejun could come around, I would imagine. Natural Philosopher is fine, but not quite what's going on with the Power 4 or greater. Victory over Phyrexia is flexible, and it keeps bringing back, it keeps tutoring creature cards at the beginning of your end step, which is quite nice. This is a really decent card. But yeah. Seeing some other players picking up some green. Lyco being in green though right next, and looks like we're going bigger green. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Natural Philosopher got swept up right here. Xera, Vassal, Performer, Natural, everything looks like it's working really well to go into Prince of Stars. Ayala's would have been nice in Cyber Chronometer's deck as well. So is what it is. Obviously, we can't grab everything, and since Cyber is passing to Lyco, Cyber can definitely cut off some of the cards from that deck. There's quite a few people still passing. You know, we've got Arroyo, Legion, Vorea. What else we got here? Vivian got picked. Okay, yeah, Vivian got picked, but there's options. There's options. Packs are still not at Cybers. Looks like Pie Guy here is holding a few of them. Absolutely butchered Pie Guy's name last video. I apologize. I was mispronouncing it horrendously. Thankfully, Pie Guy is a cool person and said don't worry about it. It happens all the time. And just told me how to pronounce it for the next time. That's something I'm going to have to get used to, is asking our players exactly how their names are pronounced before we move to the recordings. That way we aren't butchering anyone's stuff. So hey, Legion of Garages got picked up. Kind of a lower pick when I built the cube list, but I really like the flexibility because it was not only a discard outlet but a sacrifice outlet. One grew, one went wide. I thought it was flexible enough. It was quite interesting. And to be frank, I just wanted to re-art a skeleton army, and it's a 1-drop. So Nomad's Township is really nice to pick up. One of the premium black-green duels here. Let's see. Pop's got Ultin Surveyor, Carrion Scythe. Shikai Revenant would probably be really nice to send over to Cyber here. So if I'm still looking at that pack here, there was what? Surveyor, Corrupted Memory, Shikai. There's quite a lot of black-green cards actually going around still. That's good for Cyber here. Demon of Dark Shadows is not bad. Not necessarily on the Arbor Protector plan, but I could see a Demon being not a horrible top end, especially because it just costs less for each creature that died this turn. Splashing white for Somber Riverbearer could be interesting. But you might not just want to be all in. Like, black-green value is already going to do quite a bit. So Popcornia is holding a few of the boosters. So let's do a quick check. Lyco, definitely still in green, grabbing where the ramp pieces and studies past. Softwood, looks like we're building red-green, more of the top end. I'm seeing a lot of the ramp, but some removal, fixing for white. So this could be a Naya deck. That's nice. I quite like that. Splash is also in the black-green, like we said. Okay, so picking up some of the pieces we were hoping would cycle around like Jejun, but and picking up the Demon. All right, those aren't going to make it all the way back. Pie Guy is grabbing the white-black here, so it's kind of like a Mardu build. Nyx is solidly in blue. Angener mostly white with some red. Okay, so we'll see how Cyber adapts to this. Okay, picking up, actually it's not horrible. Picking up Shikai Revenant like I wondered. This is a good recursive creature again, so you got a little pick of lots of little creatures going around here. That's great. And Dirty Cleanup, one of the format's new pieces of removals. If you have a creature that you can sacrifice, this is a -4/-4 for 3 mana. Hopefully we'll see it in Constructed. It's quite a cheap cost for how big it can get, and it's definitely better than we used to have. Well, we have one in the format that's got Reverberate, where you have to sacrifice a land to copy it. This one is just sacrificing a creature, which is a lot easier to do. Picking up Shardstone Rift, so if ever we want to splash into the red, we have the right fetch land to do so. Shikai's Readout hates on graveyards. Might as well pick it up if there's nothing else in that pack. And we picked up a Victory over Phyrexia here with a Arroyo Infinitely Branching and an Arbor Protector rounding out the first pack here. I'm going to just scroll back a little bit, see what was in that Readout pack. I believe that was the 10th? Nope, 12th? 11th, perhaps? Okay, here we go. I'm surprised we didn't pick up a Kailong, Call of the Dark, Black Spells, Sack Creature, Gain 3 life. I would assume that would have been the pick over the Shikai's Readout, but Readout is fine, and like you don't want your opponents to have access to it, so that's okay. This is a closed cube, so for example, whenever you draft, you'll always be playing within your pod, so every card only has one copy. So if you hate out Shikai's Readout, which is essentially a premium graveyard hate removal, your opponents won't have it. So it's really nice to pick up an Arroyo Infinitely Branching so late. Like, this seems really good for the deck. Just, it's a 4/4 for 4. Once during each of your turns, when a card is put into a graveyard from anywhere, you may cast it. And it says a graveyard, not yours. And you can spend mana of any color to cast that spell. And when Arroyo Infinitely Branching is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may cast it. You still have to pay the cost, but like, the card's fantastic. So this gives recursion to just so many things. Not surprised to see Arbor Protector get like immediately chucked into the sideboard. We're not really an Arbor Protector deck here. We're not doing the whole all differently named lands get a big beater. So we'll see how this card ends up. There's definitely some decks that can make a lot more value off of it, but this doesn't look like it's the one right now. So like I said, Victory over Phyrexia is quite cool. It's 1 and a green. You choose one, destroy an artifact or enchantment with mana value 3 or less, or gain 3 life, draw a card. And then you can cast the backside from your graveyard. So for 5 mana, it's just beginning your end step, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So this is like really good on the backside. Profane Call is not... No, it's good. It's good. It searches for a demon, and while we may not have a target yet, we can get one, but it's the other two that are fine. It's sack a creature, draw 2 cards, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. And if we pick up at least 1 demon, we'll be happy. Looks like our first few picks were Menin Pack, which is, you know, a really annoying 1-cost card, right? It's a 1/1 flash. When it enters, each opponent loses a life. When it dies, each opponent discards a card. You don't want this card coming back all the time. It is really annoying to deal with. Being able to sacrifice it and cause instant speed discard is a pain. Looks like we also picked up a lovely copy of Brutalize, forcing opponents to sack creatures, and then it reruns, so we get to recast it the next time one of our creatures die. And actually a perfect follow-up in Sidraxis Trepanator. This is actually built for this deck, essentially. This was the package, like, in the design in the cube. So this is a 1/2 for 1. Tap, sack a creature, target player discards a card and loses 1 life. Activate only as a sorcery. So when you combine everything, you can actually shred your opponent's cards. And I'm super happy to see Cyber... yeah, I mean, there's Wayfinders, and Verdant Sanctuary is a really, really spicy card. But I'm so happy to see someone pick up Void Portal. So this is a really unique enchantment. It's discard a card, you search your library for a card with the same mana value as the discarded card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Only as a sorcery, only once each turn. So essentially, you can toss your Shikai Revenant, and you pick up a Sidraxis Trepanator. It's just super cool like that. Discard Nerix, pick up a Coup. So anytime you have doubles, you kind of make like a mental note of what you've picked up, and Void Portal can do some really funny stuff. It's really good when you go super deep. You can also toss lands to find other lands. Like, it does a lot of really interesting things, and I'm really glad I was able to give it a new splashy art. Power module here is really cool. Either we can search our library for cards, destroy something, or it becomes a Phyrexian Arena. So it just does a lot. We get one of them for free, and then we can pay triple black to slowly activate the other modules. So very flexible, very strong. Lush Oasis is a nice pickup in case we ever have to grab some of the blue stuff. And Surge of Darkness is another piece of good removal. Just destroys a creature at the cost of either 3 life, discard a card, or sack a non-land permanent. Really like what we're seeing here. Belly of the Beast is triple green, which is kind of hard to support with what we've got going here, but it's definitely fun. Whenever a creature control dies, we can search library for a creature card with lesser mana value, and it enters the battlefield tapped. So if we lose one of our 2s, we can get one of our 1s. It's a bit expensive, but yeah, the card's fantastic. It's a new recent addition to the MSEM format. It came in during MC25, as did Digital Encores here. So yeah, a lot of big splashy white stuff, like 2 board wipes and a big angel are going around. So between the mill and recursion, looks like we picked up Swarming Midden. I agree with this pick. Swarming Midden is fantastic. It becomes a 2/3 black rat with menace for 3, which is totally fine, and it can often enter untapped. Whenever it attacks, you also get a 1/1 black rat with the creature can't block. And if you do that, well, guess what? You have a lot of fuel. Ogura could also work if ever we splash the red, because whenever it attacks, you create tokens that are copies of other attacking creatures with power less than or equal. So that's, you know, most of the creatures we currently have. There's quite a few things we could want back from this pack, you know. I'm pretty sure we'll see probably something like Visions going around pretty late. And speaking of late, that's a late Blood Artist. Again, we're not quite seeing what, you know, all the opponents have picked on the way here, but I'm happy Blood Artist made it. That fits right in. Let's do a quick peek around. Lyco solidly still in green with some ramp. We've got Softwood. Looks like a little bit over. Like it's mostly Naya. I'm seeing some stuff that isn't, but it looks like Naya-ish. Naya-ish? Splash Cat's holding on to black green, but leaning more towards the top end, so a little more on the, I guess, Reanimator mid range rather than the Sacrifice, which is good. It means the players won't be necessarily fighting over every piece. Pie Guy looks like Jund, no, Mardu? White, red, a little bit of black here. Could be Mardu-ish. Nyx is just solidly in blue. Looks like blue leaning towards blue artifacts maybe with Tech Chaser, Merilier. We look like we're on power control. That's really interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Angener, pretty solidly red-white on the aggro plan. And then Popcornia looks to be on blue-red spells. So, cool. Everyone's picking up stuff that they like. What do we pick up here? Oh, this is really nice. So, Salome's Intervention is fine. It's each opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life, and when you cast your second spell each turn, if it wasn't put into the graveyard that turn, it goes back. So you can kind of just keep picking it up over and over again. It's a fun little card. And Halford the Rightful King is actually a nice addition to this deck. It's not like necessarily the most synergistic, but it's just such a good value as a 5/5 for 4. When it enters or attacks, your opponents have to choose one. And if they choose one they've already picked, it copies. So it's lose 2 life, gain 2 life, sack a permanent, discard a card. If they can't, you draw. And if they ever pick it again, you double it up. So 4 life, sack 2, discard 2 if they can't. Discard 1 if they can't draw a card, then do it again. Looks like Harvest Reaper got picked up. I don't know if that'll make it all the way, but what's really nice is it's cheap. It's a 1/1, and if ever you pay 4 and scavenge it, you put a +1/+1 counter on one of your creatures, and you get to search for a colorless card, which in this case could be During Sun. Goblin War Chariot is quite nice. Could be Lotus or any of your lands. War Chariot's really nice. It's a 3/2 haste battle cry vehicle for crew 3, and when it becomes crewed, you untap each creature that crewed it with mana value 1 or less. So it actually crews up for free if you have a bunch of mana value 1s. Speaking of mana value 1s, looks like we picked up a Crypnar here. This thing is sticky and just keeps coming back. It's a 1/1 for black with Menace, Haste, and Decayed. At the beginning of combat on each of your turns, if you have 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard and haven't controlled a creature named Crypnar this turn, return Crypnar from your graveyard to the battlefield. So essentially means in Constructed is even if you have 4 of them, the other ones won't come back. It'll only ever pick up 1 copy of Crypnar. So you only ever get the 1, but it's quite easy to turn on, and then just the value is there. It looks like we also picked up a Crypt Tutor that I would have missed here somewhere in the picks. So it's Demonic Tutor, but you exile it, and it costs 2 more to cast from exile if you don't control a legendary creature as you cast the spell, but there's quite a few legends. We've already got like 4 legendary creatures here. And what's really nice about Crypt Tutor is it's in the exile, so it's very hard to like hand attack the piece that you throw out there. So something that I like a lot. Following up with more good black removal here in Enopraxia's Endeavor. It costs 2 more to cast for each target beyond the first. And it's either remove all counters from a non-Gorgon, and then if it has toughness 2 or less, you destroy it. You can bring back a creature, Planeswalker, you gain 4 life, or you can exile a player's graveyard. So also nice to pull that out so other people aren't using it against you. Okay, Young Necromancer, good follow-up. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 black skeleton creature token. Just seems great. I would probably be looking to pick up... There's a lot of things we could pick up. Kralin Horde, Root Module is fine. Kralin Horde is probably better. Neomo Wang looks nicer. There's some nice picks there. Dais Freed from Belief is fine. It's meant to be a lower pick Planeswalker, but it's, whenever a creature you control dies, put loyalties on it, and you just keep creating 2/1 black nightmares to use again and again, and then as your things die, you just, destroy all the stuff your opponent has. Fun card for everyone, and that is a pretty decently late pack 3 Channeler of the Veil here. Creates 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token. You can just sack creatures, each opponent loses a life. This just partners up so well with everything that's going around here, right? Something dies, you get a token. Things die, they lose life. You sack things, they lose life. It comes back. Oh, I love this package so much. It looks like Cyber's already cleaning out the green, which I think is the right choice here. There really wasn't much we were doing with it. Like, Coup was neat, but being able to be mono black is really big. Corpse Caster Mage is fantastic. 2/1 Death Touch. one of your creatures in your graveyards gains Arise. So you can exile it and you create a token that's a copy of it. Except it's a black zombie. So it's essentially revive kind of thing until end of turn. Yeah, so I mean, it's a pretty cheap way of bringing back some of your other stuff, especially the fact that Nerix can bring back mana value 2 or less. Now that we're only solidly in mono black, we don't really have to care about the lands, which means it makes perfect sense to pick up a Sicilius of Wicked Ways. +1 is remove all counters, so just absolutely nukes other planeswalkers. Other +1 is each opponent discards a card, which is also fun to do just every turn. -2 is the real power, I think, for this deck. Exile a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal number of lands you control, so it can reanimate some pretty big things. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it. And then each opponent gets an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, lose 7 life unless you sacrifice 7 permanents. Usually it's a combination of the middle two, right? Discarding a bunch of cards and then reanimating either, anything that you have in the yard that's good. Big fan here. And Chigav is really cool because it can turn any of these creatures into like a recursive creature, which is really funny if you have like Chigav on Sajaxis Terpinator and it just keeps sacrificing itself, right? Big fan. So yeah, no need for Midnight Gate. If we're not playing the green, we don't have to fix any of the black. Same with Wayfarer Shrine or Heart of Zadina. Looks like no one's really in the Wanderlust because normally Heart is a big pickup. All right, so that's also a pretty late Key to the Nexus. I guess, the rest wasn't too useful here. Key to the Nexus is nice because it stays on the side. You can put one of the cards that you kind of have in the sideboard, and then you can just pay 5 and you put it on top of your deck. So you're not going to Wooburg, you're just going to once per game be able to pay 5 and say, all right, I need my get out of jail free card. So Erebos, the Imminent End, not bad. Creatures you control dying will cause abilities of that creature to trigger as though it entered. That's really nice with cards like Men in Pack. So, just a bit of little value. There's not too many. Like these ones create, like it's fine. Corpsecaster Mage, Channeler of the Veil. There's a few, not a lot, but wow, actually, what's really cool is this late Auric Soulweaver. Just because you ended up in mono black, Auric here is actually not bad. Just whenever you cast a black spell, you choose X, where X is the number of black mana symbols in its mana cost, and it's lose life, put counters, draw cards, exile cards in graveyard. So it just does a lot. And yeah, between this deck could play Deathless Siege, but it's not really doing that. So I understand wanting to pass it up for Volatile Stonework. Not that I don't think we couldn't have Deathless Sieged here in Cyber's deck, but Volatile Stonework fits the bill a lot better just because it's a 1/1 haste that when it dies nukes opponents' chosen creatures or planeswalkers. And if you're, looping that around, there's a lot you can do. I think we covered pretty much everything. We picked up a Sinner's Solace here, which is just kind of like a generic, can hit absolutely anything in the hand, and it exiles it. But if it was a land, their owner gets to put a basic, essentially conjure a basic on top of their library. So neat card. I'm the designer, so it's nice to see it in the cube. I got at least one in. I don't know. I'm not surprised that it's more of a late pick. It's not a kind of card that, you just start the draft with. But wow, yeah, this is a really solid mono black deck. It's got the entire sacrifice kind of like wheel package. I think there might be a card or two that ended up in somebody else's deck that would have been nice. Who was it that we said? Splash Cat. Yeah, so like Neomo Wang might have been nice for the because everyone has to sack, discard, and then you bring them all back. So that's pretty good. And if we were still in green, Kralin Horde dying into 2/3/2s is always fun. Jijun would be nice. Graz can keep bringing stuff back, but it's more of a reanimator plan. So we can really see that this is like mostly green ramping into your like bigger top end. But do one more quick loop here. Looks like Lyco really solidly ended up in the green ramp. Like pretty much found most of the top end. I see Cantra of Bounty. Looks like we didn't pick up the combo with it though. There's that one enchantment. Verdant Sanctuary, which gives you infinite land drops. But Mother of Monsters, Primordial Artisan, Rova, Gorganith, ramp in the form of Scatterer, Performer, Vassal, Resurgence, Harvest, Vorea. Nice. Blossoming Verge is nice to see. Are we splashing white for anything? If not, I don't know why these are in the deck. Maybe Lyco is leaning to add a white card. Maybe a Johnny. Battlesuit Prototyping. No, it's not really a go wide. I don't know. Seafang maybe. Let's keep going around, see what else we got. Softwood looks like ended up pretty much in Naya, mostly red-white, though with some ramp pieces in green. ending with some top end here in Thunderous Avarice. Formless Eidolon should definitely be like kind of in the green pile. You generally tend to evoke it more than you pay the 5, I think. Splash Cat, we already checked. Pie Guy, pretty much red going on the aggressive plan, red-white, yeah, with some black, I guess. I don't know why I sucker. Sometimes it bugs when we're looking at people's finished decks. It might not be 100% complete. Nyx really ended up in the mono blue with pretty much all the pieces with Iterative Designer, Megalo-Kraken, and then a bunch of non-creatures. Really cool. Zerat is great here. Looks like Power Control, unfortunately, didn't make the cut, but that's okay. It's just one of my pet cards. We did a really fun kind of like not an ARG, but like a little challenge of the day to try and find all the cards, because all the tokens that it makes were flavored after like equipment pieces. So I think it ended up looking pretty cool. Angener's in red white, so we have quite a few people are in similar color pies, and here's the red blue with a splash, I guess maybe for Carrion Scythe. I mean, these might have been cut, and we just the program didn't update. It's more at the end that I will check. So if we go here to game logs, let's just double check the draft. Looks like the final decks look something like this. Okay, that's what we saw for Lyco, Softwood. Okay, it doesn't look like it was too different. Yeah, it's still showing some of the weird cards, but that's okay. Little bit all over. Let's see. Black, green, red, white. Mostly blue. Okay. It's not horrible. Blue, red's got 3, green. Yeah, it's actually a decent balance. People were fine. And I'm seeing some really interesting decks. So normally this would be the part where we would either take a little break, bring in some of the usually we'll probably have co-commentators, bring them in, have a little chat, keep looking at the decks as people get ready and get set up. And, we would move on to the match gameplay. But again, this was just a casual draft to get everything nice and set up. So if this is the kind of thing that looks interesting to you, it's totally free to enter. We're playing tomorrow on Tuesday. Well, every Tuesday, actually, from now on. 7 p.m. Eastern. We'd be happy to have you. There's some non-monetary prizes. It's all fun and games, right? But there's reasons to come participate. So hopefully we see some of you. And with that, we'll see each other in the next episode. There will be a video tomorrow with our first real draft. So take care. Have a good one.